What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today, I'm going to talk about my favorite park on Earth, the one and only Cedar Point. If you're a fan of my channel and you've been watching for a while, you can easily tell that Cedar Point is my #1 park. And in most of my videos, if not all of my videos, I absolutely give Cedar Point all of the love I have, and it seems like there's nothing to improve on from what they have as a park. But at the end of the day, Cedar Point isn't perfect. I've been to Cedar Point multiple times in my life, and I have picked up a few things over the years that the park could definitely improve on. They're doing a great job at improving so far, but they're definitely not done. So today, I want to look at 5 things that could improve Cedar Point. Now, before I start the video, I just want to say 1/5 of all of my viewers are subscribed, which is not that much. If you want to keep more in track with Cedar Flags, get notifications on polls and notifications on videos, definitely press that subscribe button and hit the bell if you'd like, and enjoy my content. I do have many smaller complaints about Cedar Point, but I do have to say my #1 complaint is that in recent years, when they've added some rides, they haven't focused on much of the theming of the individual rides. Steel Vengeance and Maverick are the exception. Cedar Fair decided to apply really good and intricate stories to both of these rides, and even though there isn't that much physical theming, the story definitely makes up for it. But for this category, I'm definitely looking at you, Gatekeeper and Valraven. Gatekeeper and Valraven are basically just generic B&Ms with no story whatsoever. Yeah, it's cool that Gatekeeper goes over the gate, but then a ride like Valraven and most of Gatekeeper really have nothing to it. There's no story, there's no extra theming, they're just generic B&Ms for the only purpose to break records. And it's not like Cedar Fair can't theme their rides right too. I like rides for the full experience. When a park builds a ride, they can't just build a ride. Looking at you, Six Flags. The ride needs to be a complete experience that the customer immerses themselves into. For example, rides could have a full story to them, and you could be a part of the ride's story. It doesn't have to have a great theme, but it has a story that backs up the ride. Look at Kings Island, for example. Orion doesn't have the best theming in the queue, but it has one heck of a pre-show and one incredible story. In Mystic Timbers, you go into the woods of Rivertown and see a bunch of haunted stuff, and they're warning you about the shed, and even though that all the physical theming isn't incredible, it's not a Disney or Universal park, they definitely put effort into the story and the immersion of the whole thing. Cedar Point recently added theming to Maverick in the launch tunnel, so that begs me to ask, would they be up to theme Gatekeeper and Valraven even more? Not to the point of a Disney or Universal ride, but definitely a ride that has a good pre-show, a story, a theme, something along those lines. You don't have to go all out. You aren't a theme park, by the way, but you could definitely put some more theming into it. My #2 improvement is to improve the front of the park. Now, while the back of the park is very unique and themed very well when it comes to Cedar Fair with Frontiertown, the Frontier Trail, and Forbidden Frontier, the front is rather generic. You walk into the park and you see a lot of generic Cedar Fair stuff that you would see at most other Cedar Fair parks, and it definitely feels boring without a standout ride or a standout theme. Though there isn't a standout elite attraction, they definitely do have a great collection at the front. You have Wicked Twister, Gatekeeper, Blue Streak, Raptor, and Valraven, and they're definitely fan favorites to certain people. But what can I do? What can I think of to improve it? I think a revitalized boardwalk area would look absolutely incredible. Think of something like the Knott's Berry Farm boardwalk section with a lot of boardwalk themed buildings and a lot of wood everywhere, like a boardwalk on the beach. I think that would be a great idea, and that would definitely bring some more theming to this park. Moving on from theming altogether, I want to talk about how the park could widen some midways. Now, you might not notice this on a less busier day, but if you go on a more crowded day, you definitely notice this while walking through the park. Cedar Point definitely has a lot of bottlenecks within the park, including the train crossing near Millennium Force where it seems like it's always super crowded around that area, or the path to Steel Vengeance, one of the most popular rides in the park, and as a very thin midway on the way. Also, the other train crossing in between Gemini and Frontiertown is a pretty bad issue too. Now, when it comes to crowd control, I definitely wouldn't say this was a big issue before the pandemic, but The world has really changed, and now we are practicing social distancing more than ever, and no doubt that after this pandemic, people will be more careful and more spread out. Not to the point of where it is now, but definitely to the point of a greater social distancing than back then. I don't think this is one of Cedar Point's number one issues, but I could definitely see them widening their midways or building bridges over their train crossings. For the number 4th category in this improvement video, I want to talk about something with crowd control as well. It would be adding a 5th entrance in Frontiertown. If Cedar Point's not going to widen the paths in between the front and back of the park, they could definitely do this. Cedar Point currently has 4 entrances going into the park. The front entrance near Gatekeeper, the side marina entrance near Valraven, the boardwalk entrance near Wicked Twister and Windseeker, and of course the Magnum XL 200 entrance near Gemini. Now, I could definitely see a 5th one. Where would it be? Probably in between Gemini and Steel Vengeance, or in between Steel Vengeance and Maverick. A lot of people love to go to the back of the park, including myself. It's personally my favorite part of the park. And when I go to Cedar Point, I don't want to walk all the way back there just to spend all day there, and then walk all the way back to the front of the park or the side of the park where my car is. I'd much rather have an entrance at the back of the park, so I could just leave when I'm ready. And Cedar Point isn't your average park either. Cedar Point is massive. It is huge. In fact, it's a mile long from Gatekeeper to Steel Vengeance. It is a massive park, and this would definitely spread out the crowds easy for people who want to go to the back. Finally, the last park improvement I put might be a little obvious, but it is to improve their park lineup and round up their lineup. Cedar Point loves to achieve a complete roundup, and they definitely have succeeded at the most part. They have mostly everything you could ask for, but they're definitely missing a lot, and there's definitely a lot of room to improve. Now, surprisingly, I did not use the first floor to talk about adding coasters. I saved that for this one. Cedar Point does almost have every type of major coaster, but what are they missing? They are missing a 4D coaster, a spinning coaster, a flying coaster, and a smooth modern wooden coaster. And there are definitely a few things I can improve on with this. With the 4D, I could see an S&S 4D free spin. Not something massive, but definitely a good attraction for the park. Not the biggest, not the fastest, but a really good supporting coaster. Spinning, I would love to see a mock extreme spinner if it didn't go to Kings Island. I definitely would rather have it at Kings Island, but oh well. If it came to Cedar Point, I wouldn't complain. With a flying coaster, I'd love a B&M Flyer, and with a smooth Woody, I would absolutely love to see a GCI retrack of Blue Streak to conserve the old wooden roller coaster, but at the same time make it much more extreme. Think of something like the Ghost Rider treatment at Knott's. There is definitely a lot more to improve on the park, but for now, that is all I have. Let me know in the comments below what you think Cedar Point could improve on, and let me know what coasters you could see Cedar Point adding next. Have a happy Easter. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.